Hello everyone, welcome back to News of Asha. Today is 5th of August 2023. Now let's see what's happening in the world today. Australian Intelligence Agency funding research to merge human brain cells with AI. A team of researchers collaborating with the Melbourne-based startup Cortical Labs received a $600,000 grant to merge biology with AI. The team has already demonstrated how roughly 800,000 brain cells in a petri dish is capable of playing a game of Pong. This new technology capability in the future may eventually surpass the performance of existing silicon-based hardware. According to Razi, the tech could allow machines' intelligence to learn throughout its lifetime like a human brain, allowing it to learn skills without losing old ones as well as applying existing knowledge to new tasks. According to Razi, we will be using this grant to develop better AI machines that replicate the learning capacities of these biological neural networks. So the question is, if we start merging biology with machine, would consciousness be much easier to achieve in machines? Would machines actually be conscious in the future? I think these questions need to be pondered and discussed more in the fields of scientists and philosophers, because if machines gain consciousness, God knows what's going to happen next. So moving on. A US scientist developed new cancer-stopping pill that can annihilate tumors. According to their preclinical research findings published on August 1st in the Cell Chemical Biology journal, titled Small Molecule Targeting of Transcription Replication Conflict for Selective Chemotherapy, the study found that a drug the researchers developed was able to selectively disrupt DNA replication and repair cancer cells. The drug is also called AOH1996. It was named after Anna Olivia Healy, who was born in 1996 and died of a rare form of cancer called neuroblastoma when she was just 9 years old. Preclinical study explains how AOH1996 targets a cancerous version of the protein called proliferating cell nuclear antigen, PCNA for short. Most other targeted cancer therapies focus on a single pathway, which allow cancer cells to mutate and eventually become resistant to the therapy. The unique mechanism of AOH1996 that enables it to target the mutated versions of the PCNA sets it apart from other currently available therapies. No one has ever targeted PCNA as a therapeutic because it was viewed as an undruggable, but clearly City of Hope was able to develop and investigate medicines for challenging protein targets, lead author of the study Longu said in a statement. So the question is, does this mean we are going to find a cure for cancer soon? Well, in my opinion, we probably already have the cure for cancers, but pharmaceutical companies and profits will have to wait and see. Are Americans losing faith in the afterlife? Apparently, a Gallup data poll says yes. Belief in God, heaven, hell, and angels and devils is slowly falling in the United States. Well, it's the belief in God that I'm more concerned about. A closer look at the data shows that frequent churchgoers, Protestants and Republicans, are the most likely groups to say they believe in God. Women were also slightly more likely than men to believe in God, angels, and heavens, while both sexes were tied over the belief in the devil, which is kind of weird. If you believe in God, wouldn't you also believe in the devil? Shouldn't the numbers be equal? Something doesn't seem right here. Well, I guess faith is something that is becoming a scarce commodity in these coming days. So keep your faith, people. God's there, watching. Now, Russia says JP Morgan stops processing its grains payments. US bank JP Morgan this week stopped processing payments for the Russian Agricultural Bank, Russia said on Friday, as it demanded action, not promises, from the Washington to help Russian grain and fertilizer reach global markets. Under a related pact also brokered in July 2022, UN officials agreed to help Russian food and fertilizer exports reach global markets. As soon as this is done, this deal will immediately be renewed, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov told reporters on Friday. A key Russian demand has been the reconnection of the Russian Agricultural Bank to the SWIFT international payment system. It was cut off by the European Union in June 2022 following Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Western countries have accused Russia of using food as a weapon of war by quitting the Black Sea deal, which has helped bring down global food prices, and then carrying out repeated airstrikes on Ukrainian ports and grain stores. Well, you see, they've sanctioned Russia. They've basically thrown everything at Russia, and Russia still exports their grains to the rest of the world, which makes you question, who's actually the bad guy here. But, propaganda. So for now, let's just hope they can resolve this, because food prices are on the rise. India just banned rice exports, which also means that we're going to have a shortage of rice. So having more shortages of grains in the world is just going to cause more problems and more food inflation for a lot of people in the world. So let's hope they can solve this problem as soon as possible. Apple, Samsung halt India laptop imports after sudden curbs. Regulators on Thursday surprised the world's biggest PC makers when they made license mandatory for imports of electronics from small tablets to all-in-one PCs. Laptop makers has been bracing for some government measures aimed at reducing reliance on imports and boosting local production, but the sudden licensing imposition caught the industry off guard. Tech firms are now engaging with New Delhi on how to most quickly obtain licenses at a period of heightened customer interest, with India's Diwali shopping season and back-to-school period approaching. The import restriction is an example of India's sudden policy shift, adds to long-standing measures designed to discourage bringing in foreign electronics. It's intended in part to realize a longer-term ambition to create a world-class tech manufacturing industry. Well, India wants to get up there in the tech industry, so they are probably doing this to improve their internal and local chip manufacturing industries. Let's see how that goes and works out for them. This is interesting news. Massive backlash over US credit rating downgrade forces Fitch into defense mode. The numbers speak for themselves. In yesterday's news, we talked about how the Fitch downgrading US ratings might be a boost for crypto. But right now, I'm guessing the US government is not very happy that Fitch has downgraded their ratings. Getting heat for downgrading the United States debt, credit rating agency Fitch took to the airwaves to defend a controversial move viewed by many as unwarranted and bizarrely timed. Unwarranted and bizarrely timed? No. I think it's warranted, and I don't think it was bizarrely timed. It's when you get data, you report on the data. The numbers speak for themselves, Richard Francis, the co-head of American sovereign ratings at Fitch, told CNN on Wednesday. By his count, US debt as a share of gross domestic product soared to 113% of the US annual economic output from below 60% in 2007. So, looking at this, in the past 17 years, the US has increased its debt to GDP from 60 to almost 120. So by double in the past 17 years. Whereas it took them over 250 years to accumulate the 60% of debt. So 200 years for 60% and 17 years for another 60%. Something's really smelling fishy here. Or at least this is signs of an end of an empire. For Fitch, this accelerated deterioration of the US government balance sheet, combined with rising interest burdens from higher rates and a political class largely unwilling or unable to take concerted action, all means the country can no longer serve as the gold standard for creditworthiness. Which is true. The debt to GDP peaked during the pandemic at 120%. That would also explain why our friend Jerome Powell is desperately increasing the interest rates, because he really needs to bring back confidence in the US government. But I don't think a lot of the world players are buying this, so we'll just have to wait and see. But this downgrade really is going to hurt the US outlook for the coming years. Both sides, Republican and Democrats, haven't been able to come up with a meaningful long-term solution to deal with growing fiscal issues, especially around entitlement programs like Social Security and Medicare. Well, that's how you get votes, right? Give people free stuff. So you just get the government to continue printing money, give people free stuff, and when you give people free stuff, they vote for you. That's the world we live in. So the only direction of debt is up. Yeah, the ratings from AAA has been reduced to AA+, which is the second highest rating there is. So give it a couple more years and I'm pretty sure it's just going to be AA. Moving on. Digital bank Revolut to suspend crypto services for US customers, citing regulatory uncertainty. A crypto-friendly British neobank Revolut has announced plans to halt its crypto services for US customers. The digital bank cited the market uncertainty and changes to local regulatory landscape in the country for suspending crypto services. As a result of evolving regulatory environment and the uncertainties around the crypto market in the US, we've taken a difficult decision together with our US banking partners to suspend access to cryptocurrencies through Revolut in the US. Well, all this is because the regulatory bodies like the US Security of Exchange Commission and the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, SEC and CFTC, have filed a series of lawsuits against crypto companies, including the likes of Binance and Coinbase, accusing them of violating regulations. All it seems to me is as though all these alphabet agencies have nothing better to do but to go after crypto, because all the fraud that's happening in the traditional market, they can't really do anything about it. Doing anything about it will bring the whole market down. So what do? Go after the niche market that barely 5% of the population even uses, and in fact makes things worse, because they're supposed to be protecting investors, but instead they're just causing investors more and more problems. Whereas there has been major scandals in the crypto space like FTX and Alameda and Celsius, and those were never probed, never engaged. And the companies that actually followed all the rules like Coinbase or Binance, they are the ones that are being attacked. So it begs the question, are they protecting investors, or are they just targeting an industry because of the need to protect their own traditional finance system? BTC holders outperformed crypto funds by 69% in the first half of 2023. According to 21E6 Capital, crypto funds generally outperformed the price gains of BTC in the previous bull runs, but they ultimately suffered this year from having too much cash on hand and playing it safe. The classic buy and hold approach of Bitcoin outperformed most crypto funds by 68.8% in the first half of 2023. Basically what that means is, if you just buy Bitcoin and you hold it, you're going to outperform majority of the crypto funds out there. And that seems to have been the case for the past 14 years. But I guess 14 years of data doesn't really help to convince most people. It just doesn't help to convince people. Following the implosion of FTX and many other crypto projects last year, the report suggested that many crypto funds opted to take risk off the table and develop cash buffers, therefore missing out on a significant BTC rally. Well, nobody can blame anyone if they are afraid and they decide to hold cash. The problem with holding cash is you have to deal with inflation, and we all know the prices of food has increased by almost 20 to 30% in just the past 6 months, which means you've lost 20 to 30% of the value of your cash. But we'll have to just wait and see how people decide to navigate through these uncertain times of inflation, money printing, and bad policy by regulators. Going forward, we are keeping a close eye on which exchanges will establish themselves as leading future providers. Furthermore, the level of the funding rates in crypto futures markets and the ability of quantitative funds to capture trends will be areas to focus when we observe the markets. Well, basically, they're just trying to keep an eye and see which ones to go after next, I guess. You know, if you get too big, then you're going to be under the scrutiny of the SEC or the CFTC or some alphabet company somewhere. But the crypto industry is resilient. Regulators have been trying to take down the crypto industry for the past 5-6 years, and well, I think they've got bigger problems on their hands, because the traditional economy is crumbling, and it's crumbling at a rate that most people barely can realize what's going to happen and what's going to hit them in the face. The SEC has violated due process, Coinbase CLO on motion to dismiss lawsuit. Lawyers for Coinbase cited precedent from the SEC vs. Ripple case, in which the judge ruled that XRP largely did not qualify as a security by the Commission's standards. In August 4th, filing with the US District Court for the Southern District of New York, lawyers for Coinbase filed a motion for judgment claiming the SEC had violated due process, abused its discretion, and abandoned its own earlier interpretations of the security laws. In asserting certain regulatory authority over the crypto exchange, the legal team cited precedent over the SEC vs. Ripple case, in which a judge ruled that the XRP largely did not qualify as a security by the Commission's existing standards. Specifically, Coinbase filing disputed the transactions of the 12 tokens at issue in the SEC case met the definition of investment contracts under the Howey test, and the exchange was operating as an unregistered broker, and argued that the Commission's challenges to its staking program fails as a matter of law. The crypto firm has requested the court dismiss the case, arguing the SEC's enforcement actions was punitive and represented an overreach in its authority granted by Congress. In fact, even when the SEC was in front of Congress trying to answer questions, Gary himself couldn't answer few questions that was posed to him by the Congress. So begs the question, what is Gary actually up to in the backgrounds? Thank you for staying to the end of the video. Please like, share and subscribe. Leave your comments in the comment section below. I'll see you again tomorrow.